Alright, so guitars are becoming super popular in music right now. If you listen to some of the biggest songs out there, they usually have some sort of guitars in them. And you can even just go on like the Spotify playlist, the Apple Music playlist, Billboard Top 100, the radio, wherever you go to find new music. You're pretty much gonna hear they're all stacked with different guitar beats. And to be fair, guitars actually have an amazing sound to them. Now you probably hear producers using guitars more and more in their beats as well. So today I'm literally gonna show you guys the ultimate guide to making guitar beats from scratch in FL Studio. So now before we start laying down the guitar pattern in FL Studio, we need to decide what type of guitar we actually want to use to make our beat. Now there are probably thousands of different guitars, but I'm quickly just going to go through some of the main guitars we have, just so you can get a better feeling for what type of guitar you should actually be using. Now we have my favorite, which is the classical guitar. These are the guitars with a wooden body, and it also has a couple of nylon strings on them. These are super popular if you're going for that wavy or Latin type of vibe. You would usually hear this from somebody like Gunna or Rich. Then we also have the acoustic guitar. It looks very similar to the classical guitar. Obviously, they both have a wooden body, but the acoustic guitar actually only has steel strings and no nylon strings. So the acoustic guitar gives a more natural type of sound, which you are probably familiar with when it comes to guitar sounds. And then lastly, we obviously have the electric guitar. This guitar is becoming more and more popular in recent times, and it's also very easy to recognize. The unique thing about the electric guitar is that it needs some sort of amplification or amp power to be heard or to be played properly. Now these guitars are also super flexible, especially because the different type of amps come with different effects, so you can seriously go crazy with the effects on these guitars, and it's usually going to sound very unique, but it's still going to sound good at the same time. So unless you're actually going to be making beats with a real guitar, so as you guys probably know, I love going for that wavy type of vibe. So for this tutorial, we're just going to be using this pick nylon guitar from Contact. This right here is my favorite guitar. So it's going to be a classical guitar, like I said, with nylon strings, but unless you're making beats with a real guitar, I would seriously recommend going for these guitars over here. But you can also go for the Ilya Efimov guitars. They also have a nylon, a acoustic, and an electrical guitar. So those are pretty much my favorite guitars. Obviously, you can use whatever guitars you want, but make sure you are using a guitar that actually sounds good. Gonna make your life way easier. So the first thing we're gonna do is just lower the BPM to about 125. And for the scale I'm gonna be working in, it's gonna be F minor. So the super nice thing with this scale is that you can see all these gray and highlighted notes over here. They are all the notes inside of the F minor scale. So we can literally just use any notes in these gray areas over here, and it's usually going to sound pretty nice. Now, obviously, when we are making the pattern, we want the guitar to sound as realistic as possible. The first thing I recommend doing is just laying down a note, and you just want to go down to the velocity over here. Make sure that you're lowering the velocity a little bit down and not having it all the way up here. This is actually very important because when people are playing the real guitar, they're usually playing it very softly. So having the velocity down here is going to make the guitar sound soft as well. Then we just want to start off by making an F minor chord. If you don't know how to make this, it's just by skipping the first highlighted note. Then you just press on the note above, again skipping the first highlighted note and pressing the note above yet again. There we have an F minor chord. One of the more unique things when it comes to guitar is that chords aren't usually being played like this. So if we were to be using a piano, you would usually see chords like these being played over and over again. But in my opinion, guitars sound way better when they're finger picked. This actually means that we're going to strum the notes out a little bit, so we have one note playing at a time. Now that we have this main foundation down, we're just going to build off this first chord we have, and we're just going to try to find a catchy pattern. So I'm actually just going to copy the root note over, but this time we're going to shorten it down a little bit, and we can pitch it down by 4 semitones. Let's do the same tricks for the chords. So let's skip the first highlighted note and put one over here. Again, skip the first highlighted note and put another one over here. Remember to strum the notes so they're not playing at the exact same time. But for this second chord, we can actually pitch this up by 1 octave. So we're just inverting the middle note. For the last chord, we're just going to copy this over, but pitch the whole thing up by 2 semitones. So right there, we have a pretty basic but still catchy foundation. Now we want to add some more movement to this, so we're just going to add some accent notes here and there just to fill out the guitar sample a little bit. One of my favorite ways to actually do this is just by picking the first root note we have down here, and we're actually just going to copy it up by 2 octaves. Then we just want to zoom in a little bit, and as I said, we don't want to have them playing at the same time. So we're just going to highlight the top one, hold Alt on your keyboard, and just move it slightly to the side like this. This again is going to make the pattern sound more realistic. It's also going to give it a little bit of that high end we're missing from the guitar. So as you guys heard, now we have some more movement to the guitar. Now I have just copied over this pattern over here, but we're going to do some slight switch ups on the second part, just so it's not the exact same as the first one. One of my favorite ways to add switch ups, especially when it comes to guitar, is actually to go over to this magnet knob over here, and then we're actually just going to pick third beat. When it comes to guitar patterns, switching between half beat and third beat really makes the guitar sound bouncy. So we're just going to start off by deleting this first note, and then I think I'm going to add a little bit of a triplet over here at the end, just so we can really get that bounce I was talking about. So we're going to have them fading down over here, and then we're just going to try to do the same thing over here. But like I said earlier, we don't want to have them playing at the same time, so make sure we adjust it a little bit to the side. Yeah, the guitar pattern is super bouncy. That right there is a super nice guitar pattern you guys can recreate. Now, the last thing we're going to do before we add the effects is that we're just going to highlight everything first by hitting Ctrl and A on your keyboard. Then you just want to hit Alt and R to randomize the velocity of the guitar. Now, as for the guitar effects you use, they really depend on what type of sound you actually want from the guitar. But I'm going to show you guys some very nice effects if you're going for that wavy type of vibe. So I'm going to start off with this CLA Guitars plugin. I'm just using this acoustic shrunken preset over here. Just gives the guitar a little bit more body and life. Then I'm just using this Valhalla vintage verb, just to give the guitar some more ambience as well. Then I'm also using an effect track for some more delay. Adding just a little bit of delay can actually enhance the sound of the guitar a lot. Make sure you guys play around with different delay effects to really get some unique sounds from your guitar. I love using this mid-res slapper preset in effect track. It just gives the guitar that little bit of extra touch it really needs. The last things I'm going to add is going to be this J37 just for some saturation. Then I'm also going to add this RC20. This is pretty much just going to give the sound a little bit of that vintage feel. And lastly, we obviously want the EQ to cut out some of the frequencies we don't really want from the guitar. So I'm pretty much cutting out those low frequencies. So now that we have the main guitar pattern down and the effects laid on the guitar, we want to add some sort of counter melody to the guitar. Here you can go with a lot of different instruments, but I have a super cool trick you guys can do if you really want to enhance that guitar feeling. So if you guys know how to play the guitar, you can just record a real guitar top line over this main guitar we already laid down. But I know a lot of you guys don't actually know how to play the guitar, so the trick is actually to open up Arcade over here. And if you go over to the search button, you can actually search for some super nice guitar top lines. But if you guys don't actually have Arcade, you can use my link down below to actually get 1 month completely free. So at least you guys can go and give it a shot if you don't want to spend any money on it. So I've just opened up this bank over here in Arcade. It's called Memento, and the preset is this Distant Between Us. Literally everything you have to do is just go over here and make sure you're on the right key. Like I said earlier, we're in the scale of F minor. So you're just going to press F minor over here. Then you just want to go over to the piano roll, find a nice little phrase you actually think could fit nicely with the guitar, and just play around until you actually have something that sounds super fire over the guitar. Yeah, so we're just going to be using this one. Literally only one note. It's this A5. Sounds fire. So just adding a little bit more reverb than from the first guitar. So now we have the two main parts from the guitar pattern. We have the main melody, which goes over and over again, which was the first guitar. But then we also have this super catchy counter guitar, which you can pretty much put in and out from the sample along the whole beat. Now it's really up to you guys what you really want to complement this whole pattern with. Now, since we are already using a lot of guitars, I'm going to show you guys a super cool trick you can actually do with guitar one-shots to enhance the sound even more. So I'm just going to open up my Imperial one-shot kit and go over to this guitar folder. All I'm going to do now is just drag in one of these guitars. So let's just drag in this. Make sure you open it up and turn off loop points. Then you just want to press reverse over here. Then you can mess a little bit around with the length knob over here, just so you can start the one shot where you actually want it to start. Now we're pretty much just going to put this note on the root note of the main pattern we actually made. So we can have it just like this and repeating over again. And it's going to give this sample a very nice reverse type of sound in the background. Yeah, with that reverse sound, you also want to add a lot of reverb to that. A little bit of EQ so it's not that harsh as well. And I'll just just pitching it up by 1 octave as well. I'm actually going to delete this second note, just so it's a little bit more subtle. Now to really finish out the sample, we're just going to add a couple textures in the background. So again, just going over to the Imperial one-shot kit, but this time going over to the textures folder. Literally just going to drag in a random one and see how it sounds. I'm going to add a bass from the one-shot kit as well. I'm quickly just adding this vocal as well, just to kind of have it there when we don't have the electric guitar. So that right there is everything for the sample. The last thing we're going to do to the whole thing is just pitch it down by a couple semitones and see how it sounds. I kind of like when we pitch it down by 3, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, let's keep this right here. So now we obviously can't leave the sample as it is. We just have to add some drums to it. So all the drum sounds I'm using are of course coming from my Euphoria bundle kit. It literally has everything you need to make some super fire beats. I've got over 200 plus drum sounds, over 100 midis, and some super fire samples I've made myself. So if you guys like the sounds you hear, you can obviously check out the pack. It's on my website. It's BBMarko.com, or you can just click the first link down below. Let's just start with this open hat over here. And then you guys know I can't go wrong with my go-to clap. Just a standard clap pattern. Let's drag in a hi-hat MIDI from the pack as well. I kind of like this right here. It's simple, but it still sounds a little bit unique, you know? Another open hat. Just some more bounce with the hi-hats. Yeah, that's fire. I think it's time we add the 808. Yeah, a little bit of that reverse 808 as well. Let's just quickly layer our 808 to the kick, and that should pretty much be it right there. Yes, I think we can actually just have the bass in the intro. And we can just do a cool little drop in right there. Yeah, that's fire. Then we bring out the gunna melody for the second part. Oof. Yeah, I think that's pretty much the beat right there. Then we just slow it down a little bit. Here we only have 2 parts for the melody. Then we bring back the vocals. Just that little bit of touch in the background.